One of the most dreaded questions in booktube is, what is your favorite book? And today I'm forcing myself to answer that in front of everybody. Hello, did you miss me? Today I'm doing a challenge that was originally made in Spanish by Macleod's books. Some of the English-speaking booktube know her because she's probably the biggest Spanish booktuber around her. Since I think I am the first one doing this one in English, I'm gonna translate it and I'm going to name it the ultimate battle of favorite books. I'm hoping that by doing this in English, a lot more people will do it and it will spread, since it is a very fun challenge. So basically the challenge is that I'm going to battle my favorite books. I picked 12 of them, and out of the 12 of them I'm gonna put them in pairs, and there's going to be 6 finalists, and then of those 6 I'm gonna pick another 3 finalists, and of those 3 I'm gonna pick my ultimate favorite book. This is nothing final, since my mood swings and everybody mood swings. Most people's favorite book isn't the same all the time, so we're just doing this to have a little bit of fun. Jorge, my husband, is behind the camera. He doesn't know what he's going to do. He's just waiting for me to give him orders, and basically he's just going to tell me pairs of books. He's going to pick 2 books from this cup, and he's going to keep doing that until we discover what my favorite book is. Are you ready, Jorge?
Yes!
Woo! So I'm going to name my 12 most favorite books of all time. And these are without any order in particular. The first one is The Green Mile. The second one is Little Fires Everywhere, Little Women, Misery, The Nightingale, Where the Crowded Sing, The Accident, Becoming, The 13th Tale, Lock Every Door, Fahrenheit 451, and The Shining. Jorge, can you pick the first 2 books?
First book's gonna be Misery.
Misery.
And second book is going to be The Nightingale.
So my copy of Misery is back in Mexico at my parents' house, and it is against The Nightingale. I'm going to tell you why I love each book. Misery was the first horror book that I read, and it was also my first Stephen King book. It was also the first book that I read in a book club, in my first book club, in my hometown in Mexico. And I honestly wasn't very thrilled to be reading a horror book, and I wasn't very thrilled to be reading a Stephen King book. I thought he was too mainstream, but I honestly was very surprised because that book kept me on my toes from page 1. I'm not lying when I say I got late to work because I just couldn't stop reading, and I finished it in no time. And The Nightingale, I read it this year during quarantine. You can tell how much someone loves a book by the way they sigh. So this is a book of World War II, 2 sisters. I love that dynamic. It has a lot of women empowerment, and I just fell in love with every single character. I have a dedicated review to this one, and it was my first dedicated review, but it's in Spanish. I don't think I did one in English. So for this round, the winner is going to be The Nightingale. Misery is disqualified.
Next 2 challengers will be The Becoming.
Just Becoming.
Just Becoming.
Yeah.
Duh. And The Accident.
Becoming and The Accident. The Accident is a thriller book. I believe I read it last year. It was in my top 5 of the year. It's not the biggest work of literature. It was just the perfect book for me because I love hating my antagonists, and I was just dying to see how Eve got what she deserved. Becoming by Michelle Obama I read this year, and it is also a very empowering book. I learned so much from that book. I sometimes, when I'm in a sticky situation, I go back and think of it and go like, what would Michelle Obama do? So for this one, The Accident is going to be disqualified.
Next 2 books are gonna be Fahrenheit 451 and Where the Crawdads Sing.
Where the Crawdads Sing.
Crawdads.
This one. Fahrenheit 451, I've always said that that is my favorite book of all time. I read it when I was in high school probably, and I loved the prose. I loved the way the author talked about the importance of books, and that was probably one of the first times that I fell in love with reading. And Where the Crawdads Sing is just so magical. This was my second favorite book of last year, but if I did again my favorite books of last year, that might probably change. This book made me feel so much. It made me laugh, it made me feel goosebumps, it made me punch the steering wheel. I think I'm gonna have to reread Fahrenheit 451 and probably also this one. I'm going with Fahrenheit 451 because it has a special place in my heart, but I don't feel that happy about that decision with the last two rounds. I felt pretty sure, but now I'm like, what the hell am I doing? So, Where the Crawdads Sing is disqualified.
So our next two books are gonna be Lock of the Door and Little Fires Everywhere.
Little Fires Everywhere, I don't own that one. Hopefully that will change. That book was such a ride. I don't even know what to say. Little Fires Everywhere. I remember it left me thinking for days and days about the end. Right now my mind is blank. I think still because I don't know if I should have disqualified Where the Crawdads Sing. But yeah, Little Fires Everywhere meant a lot to me. And Lock Every Door. That's one of my most recent books, and I really loved the way it was so sneaky, and I love mystery, and Lock Every Door is a very fine mystery. So Little Fires Everywhere is disqualified.
Our two more books are gonna be The Green Mile and Little Woman.
Those two books made me cry. The Green Mile, I remember before I knew it was a book, also by Stephen King. It made me weep and ugly cry. I love John Coffey, I love the mouse, I love the friendship that is developed in The Green Mile. It taught me so much about human kindness. Little Woman, this is my version in Spanish. I didn't thought I was going to like this one, but I was very wrong. I loved Joe, I loved Beth. This was also the first book from Marcando Páginas, a Spanish book club that I host with Ambiti Books, and I couldn't believe how much I love this book. So The Green Mile is going to be disqualified.
And the last two books that we have is The 13th Tale and The Shining.
This one is missing the dust jacket, but it is The 13th Tale and The Shining. This is another top one, and my brain just went whoop. And they're so different. The 13th Tale is so whimsical. You feel like you're being told a fairy tale. It is so clever. You don't even know what you're being told almost until the end, and then you're like, what did I just read? You're not even sure what genre it is. And The Shining is a horror, and it is a very good quality horror. It is probably the one that has the most sticky notes. I was reading this on our road trip back to Mexico to get married there, and they're so different. The 13th Tale or The Shining. I didn't think this was going to be as hard as it is. What do you think I'm going to pick? What do you think I'm going to pick?
The Shining.
Why?
Because it's the one I know.
Can I skip this one?
Nope.
Like, for example, if I were going to make my 10 favorite books of 2020, I know this one would be above The Shining, but in the long run, I think The Shining is going to mean more to me because of the time that I read it and what it meant to me for the mystery book that I'm writing. So I think The 13th Tale is going to be disqualified. All of those that survive, put them back in the cup, and let's start again.
Okay, continuing with the second part. Let's see, our next calendar will be Becoming
Becoming by Michelle Obama
versus Little Woman.
Both of those books taught me so much. Little Women taught me about life and about family relationship with your sister, with yourself, what you think and how different you are. And Becoming, I think it's like more of being empowered and being your own woman. They both taught me almost the same thing. But Little Women taught me more about internal relationship, and Becoming taught me more about the relationship with the world. I think I'm going for Becoming.
Next two books is Fahrenheit 451 versus The Nightingale.
I thought those were going to be the finalists. Fahrenheit 451. I read it so long ago, I need to read it again. But if you haven't read it, you have to, especially if you're a book lover. It's so good at pinpointing why reading is so important as an individual and a society. And I love the relationship between the firefighter, Guy Montag, and I think the girl's name was Clarice, and the Nightingale. What can I say about this book that I haven't said already? I love Bien, how much she grew, how she was so scared in the beginning, and then you just couldn't recognize her because she became such a strong woman. And Isabel was, on the contrary, she was like a flame that you couldn't contain. And then she was so trained, so aware of herself, and able to manipulate others. Oh, and the relationship with her father and the friendships. Bien with her best friend, oh my god. I'm going with the Nightingale.
Now we have two more for this round. Lock Every Door versus The Shining.
Easy peasy. The Shining, obviously. I don't have to say any more than that. And the last round there was going to be 3 books, and Jorge just came up with a plot twist, and he said that he's randomly going to pick one of my discarded books and put it back in to see how that affects the results. So I think it's an interesting experiment and I'm going to go with it. I'll allow it.
On our semi-finals of this, whatever you called it, The Shining versus Becoming.
They're so different, and I love them for very different things. Life lessons versus writing lessons. I'm picturing myself 5 years from now. I think I'm going for Becoming.
So on the semi-final we have The Nightingale versus our revived book, The Green Mile.
The Green Mile. So easy. The Nightingale. The
last two is Nightingale versus Becoming.
That's a no-brainer. The Nightingale.
I did it. He did it. He did it. I did it!
So, apparently, my favorite book today in September 2020 is The Nightingale. I honestly thought Fahrenheit 451 and The Nightingale were going to be the finalists. And I don't even remember who Fahrenheit 451 lost against. This is very surprising. If I had to choose between The Nightingale or... let's not go down that road. So I want all of BookTube to suffer the way I did, and for the same thing I'm going to tag all of the channels that I can think about. The first one that comes to mind is Books with Emily Fox, because a couple of videos ago she said that she couldn't pick her favorite book. So I want to see you doing this. I'm going to tag Library Says, I'm going to tag Books on Peak, Emma Books, The Clockwork Reader, Healing Bookland, Paul and Banana Books, Wait with Cindy, Murphy Napier, Books and Lala, Dash of Ash, and basically all of BookTube. I hope you do this task and I hope that you enjoyed watching me suffer. The secret phrase today is playoffs. Don't forget to like, subscribe if you haven't done so already, and hit the notification bell, and I'll see you next week with a new video.